Hey there, today I'm showing you how to paint this landscape with gouache. So I was using different kinds of gouache here. I was using Holbein and Arteza, and Holbein is a more high-end product than Arteza, but I honestly can say that I didn't feel as much of a difference. I don't know, I was expecting a bit more from the Holbein colors, but especially the purple wasn't as nice as I would have expected. So I don't know. This is water soluble gouache. You could also use acrylic gouache, acrylic paint, whatever you have at home, and copy what I'm doing here. You might get a slightly different result though. So I was starting off with the tree and greenery on the bottom, and I was using this teal color, but later on I changed it into a more green tone. So I kind of changed the color palette to be more like the reference picture, even though I at first decided to make it look a little bit more magical, fantastical, but then I decided that it had to be more close to the reference picture, so I changed that up. Later, it was just a personal preference thing. So here I'm just doing all the base layers. I was using purple here and just getting down all of my bases. And the beauty of gouache is that it is an opaque medium, so you can always go over the layers if you're not happy with them. And you can always slightly change out everything that you have been doing. So here I used this brown kind of tone. I mixed different kinds of colors together until I got this tone and was satisfied with it, and just built up the colors more and more. And I noticed that there's a bit of a glare from my lights. I still have to figure out the best way to do that now. Winter is coming again, and I'm not looking forward to winter because I really prefer to film with daylight, but it's not really gonna happen as much now that it's getting darker again, so I really have to figure out the lighting situation. So I'm sorry that it's a little bit reflective, but I hope you can see what I'm doing here. So I did this reddish tone here. It just has more red in it, but it's also kind of a brown. So a little bit more desaturated than the red tone. And I just filled in the background. This is so messy, but it's just the first layer and really doesn't matter. I just painted around this tree here, and it's just very, very messy, but it's okay because we're going to go over that again. And I was just checking in with the reference picture to check where the lighter tones are and the darker tones in order to make it look as realistic as I could, even though I wasn't aiming for super realistic, but just checking in with my reference picture and seeing if it looks okay. It really helps to have a reference with these kind of paintings. Here I was doing the sky with a very light teal, and then here I'm doing the greenery. I just basically do dots over and over again and just spread them out wherever I can see them in the reference picture. And here I was using the brown tone to go over the purple because I really didn't feel the vibe of the purple tone. I needed it to be more brown and more earth toned. So just going over it again and again and again, just building up all my colors. And yeah, this is just what I'm doing here. It's kind of hard to explain because those are such weird shapes that I'm doing here. let me know if this is helpful, if my narration somehow helps. I'm sure you have to stop again and again if you're following the tutorial, but you don't have to completely follow everything that I'm doing. You can just make up your own thing, and I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. And always feel free to tag me on Instagram. My Instagram is always linked in the description box so that I can see all your pictures. And yeah, I love to see your interpretations. So here I'm using a very light green tone and covering up all the teal that I did earlier. But really, it doesn't matter because I was so messy with the background. I had to go over it anyways, so I just went over it with a different color, and I think that it looks so much better. It fits together so much more nicely, and if I want to do a different color palette from a reference picture in the future, I think that I have to edit the reference picture in Photoshop first to see what it looks like, or just use an app on my iPhone to change it. But yeah, so that it's easier. Just for myself, a little bit of a learning experience here. So I'm doing the waterfall now, which is basically just white lines. And then I was using my brush with a little bit of water and blending that out. I think I blended it out even more later on. And now I'm just keeping on with my greenery and everything. So these are basically just dots. I did more and more of these dots in different colors, green tones and those yellowish green tones, just going over it again and again, looking at my reference picture. Here I was changing the reference picture just slightly because I wanted the greenery to be more illustrative, not as realistic here, just to have a little bit of my own style in there, make it look like a cute gouache illustration. So I did the greenery in the foreground here, and yeah, just going over it again because we have highlights here, and I was just using a very, very light tone, and I'm going over the waterfall again. I'm just basically going back and forth because I do that a lot of the time because things need to dry, and once they're dry, I'm going back and just changing things around. So here I thought that it needed more contrast, and I added black to my darker purple brownish tone, but it made it really black, and that's just almost black. It's basically black. I just decided that I'm okay with that because I didn't want to waste the paint. And I think in the end it looks really cool because it added a lot of contrast, and I think the piece really needed it. So I'm okay with it, but it's very dark. It was supposed to be a little bit lighter. So this is the water, and the water is actually black because it just looks like that in the reference picture. So I didn't want to change it up. I just wanted to do the colors that I can see on my reference at that point. So I was just going in again and again. I made the trees look a little bit more autumnal, and now I'm removing the tape, which is such a fun thing to do because now you can see the finished piece and what it looks like. So this is it. And on the other page, I decided to do this month's extra tutorial for Patreon, and here you can see the finished page. And if you want to see the extra tutorial, check out my Patreon account. It's always linked in the description box. I really hope that you liked this video, and if you did so, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel. And until next time, goodbye.